Biden closes in on scholar mortgage forgiveness plan and extension of reimbursement pause. The deliberations have long passed on for months and will nevertheless change. But an assertion can also additionally come as quickly as Wednesday. President Joe Biden speaks. President Joe Biden campaigned on forgiving up to $10,000 for all federal scholar mortgage debtors and has been under enormous stress from progressives to stay with that pledge. Evan Gucci AP. The White House is getting ready to announce a scholar mortgage remedy plan as early as Wednesday that could forgive up to $10,000 for a few debtors and similarly enlarge the modern-day freeze on mortgage reimbursement, in keeping with numerous human beings acquainted with the plan. The info of the fantastically predicted plan stays in flux amid a frenzied, ultimate minute inner debate over a way to shape the coverage, the human beings stated. The White House has centered on canceling $10,000 for debtors who make $125,000 or much less annually, which could completely erase the scholar debt for tens of thousands and thousands of Americans. Several human beings acquainted with the management's discussions emphasized that President Joe Biden had now no longer made a very last selection on key components of the debt remedy software via way of means of overdue Tuesday evening. The president is scheduled to go back to the White House on Wednesday from his excursion domestic in Robot Beach, Del. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, the main proponent of canceling scholar debt, advised Biden to offer as a lot of remedies to debtors as viable throughout phone name with the president on Tuesday evening, in keeping with a Democrat acquainted with the dialogue. Schumer informed Biden in his very last pitch that canceling debt is the proper element to do morally and economically, Democrats stated. The name observed a dialogue that senior White House officers, which includes the leader of the workforce Ron Klain, had with Schumer and Sens. Elizabeth Warren, D. Massachusetts, and Raphael Warnock, D. Georgia, the leaders of the attempt to persuade Biden to cancel scholar mortgage debt ever seeing that he took office. The 11th-hour deliberations over debt remedy come because the White House stares down a self-imposed closing date for addressing the difficulty. The pandemic-associated moratorium on hobbies and bills, which commenced in March 2020 with inside the Trump management and has been prolonged 4 instances via way of means of Biden, is about to run out on August 31st. Progressives, civil rights organizations, and exertions unions have all advised the Biden management to offer big amounts, as a whole lot as $50,000 in step with the borrower, of mortgage forgiveness to human beings throughout the board. And they signaled on Tuesday their sadness with any coverage that prevents a brief sweeping remedy. Derek Johnson, president of the NAACP, made clear that $10,000 of debt remedy in step with borrower could be inadequate for addressing the racial inequities in scholar mortgage debt. If the rumors are true, we've been given a problem, Johnson stated in a statement. President Biden's selection on scholar debt cannot emerge as the ultra-modern instance of a coverage that has left black human beings, in particular black women, behind, he added. This isn't the way you deal with black citizens who became out in file numbers and furnished 90% in their vote to once more shop democracy in 2020. The management is extensively predicted to, at a minimum, enlarge the scholar mortgage freeze to keep away from having tens of thousands and thousands of debtors acquire payments simply earlier than the midterm elections. A huge swath of congressional Democrats has advised the White House to preserve the freeze till as a minimum the quit of the year. The White House has struggled for greater than a year over the difficulty of scholar debt cancellation. During his campaign, Biden promised to forgive up to $10,000 to all federal scholar mortgage debtors and has been under enormous stress from progressives to stay with that pledge. Many of the important components of the scholar debt cancellation plan appear undecided, which includes which loans and debtors could qualify. White House officers have debated an earnings cap of $125,000 as a manner to blunt grievance that forgiveness coverage enables better incomes individuals. But it changed into now no longer clean precisely wherein the very last threshold can be set. Education Department officers, watching for a very last selection from the White House, have evolved plans to put in force anything Biden in the end comes to a decision. The branch has been analyzing methods to mechanically offer a whole lot remedy as viable without requiring debtors to fill out a software form. The White House declined to remark Tuesday on its making plans on debt remedy. The White House's indecision has pissed off progressives and different corporations urging Biden to move as huge as viable on good-sized mortgage remedy to tens of thousands and thousands of human beings earlier than they head to the polls this fall. The uncertainty around whether or not month-to-month bills have been going to restart additionally sparked sharp grievance from the mortgage servicing agencies that control federal scholar loans. The Student Loan Servicing Alliance, which represents federal scholar mortgage servicers, warned the Education Department on Monday that the management's indecision changed into risking operational disruptions to the reimbursement device. Education Department officers have formerly informed mortgage servicers to preserve off on sending debtors payments approximately their bills resuming in September. But the agencies say that the uncertainty so near the closing date is pushing the reimbursement device to the edge of predominant problems. That consists of the opportunity that automatic messages can also additionally ship wrong data to debtors inside the coming days, although the management decides to increase the remedy. Here's what you want to know and what it method on your scholar loans. Student loans. According to the Washington Post, the White House hasn't finalized info on extensive scholar mortgage forgiveness. Other reporting notes scholar mortgage forgiveness ought to come as early as tomorrow. With the best days away till the expiration of the scholar mortgage charge pause, Biden's assertion on the possibility of huge-scale scholar mortgage remedy ought to come proper earlier than scholar mortgage debtors are predicted to restart federal scholar mortgage bills on September 1, 2022. Biden is thinking about whether or not to enact huge-scale scholar mortgage forgiveness for greater than 40 million scholar mortgage debtors. So, what's the hold-up? Student loans. As the Washington Post note, there are numerous motives why the Biden management is cautiously weighing the selection on extensive scholar mortgage cancellation. Point 1. Student mortgage forgiveness ought to boom. Inflation reached a 40-year excessive, and the ultimate element the Biden management wishes is the notion that extensive scholar mortgage forgiveness will boom inflation. However, former U.S. Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, a Democrat, has argued that huge-scale scholar mortgage forgiveness ought to improve inflation. If scholar mortgage debtors have greater disposable earnings, they might spend that cash inside the economy, thereby growing the call for and doubtlessly using costs better. Republicans in Congress additionally say huge-scale scholar mortgage cancellation will boom monster inflation. The White House disagrees, announcing that any huge-scale scholar mortgage remedy can have a minimal if any effect on inflation. Point 2. Student mortgage cancellation can be perceived as wealth redistribution. Biden management is weighing the notion that huge-scale scholar mortgage forgiveness constitutes wealth redistribution. While different regulations create wealth redistribution, the argument right here is barely different. With extensive scholar mortgage forgiveness, the priority from Republicans and different critics of extensive scholar mortgage cancellation is that huge-scale scholar mortgage forgiveness redistributes earnings to better earnings earners. How is this viable? On average, university-knowledgeable scholar mortgage debtors, although they face excessive scholar mortgage bills and an unsure economy, earn better earnings than different Americans who didn't attend university or couldn't manage to pay for it. What do you think? Be the primary to comment. Join the CONVERSATION3. Americans without scholar loans might not need to pay for different human beings' scholar loans. According to the ultra-modern scholar mortgage debt statistics, there are 45 million debtors who together owe $1.7 trillion in scholar loans. There are approximately 250 million grown-up Americans, which means scholar mortgage debtors constitute approximately 20% of the grown-up American population. In that method, almost 80% of Americans don't have scholar loans. They both in no way borrowed scholar debt or have already paid off their scholar loans. With extensive scholar mortgage cancellation, those Americans will efficaciously be requested to pay for the university training of different Americans. Student mortgage forgiveness, political implications. Biden will even weigh the political effect of huge-scale scholar mortgage cancellation. The midterm election is on November 8th, and Democrats ought to lose manage of Congress. Supporters of huge-scale scholar mortgage cancellation need an economic lifeline inside the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and an unsure economy. They additionally need Biden to restore a damaged scholar mortgage device that has created disparities. Biden additionally should weigh remarks from a few moderates, independents, and Republicans who say scholar mortgage cancellation will gas inflation, cost $400 billion and harm operating Americans who didn't visit university or don't have scholar loans. Republicans introduced a predominant new plan on scholar mortgage forgiveness that could save the president from enacting huge-scale scholar mortgage remedies and could restart scholar mortgage bills immediately, among different proposals. Student loans, subsequent steps. Biden has stated he'll determined on huge-scale scholar mortgage forgiveness earlier than August 31, 2022. With best days remaining, assume an assertion from Biden on scholar mortgage forgiveness and the scholar mortgage charge pause any day. Regardless of the president's decisions, don't forget that you have to research all of your alternatives for scholar mortgage reimbursement.